Okay, welcome back, Mark Session again. And so this is about a basic polymodeling, box modeling, a human head, the classic way. It's a really useful thing if you are making retopology or cleaning up a mesh. So this knowledge will benefit from you. However, it's not the easiest thing to do at the first time. The tools are relatively simple, so there's not much complex thing, but you have to foresee some of the upcoming steps. So before we're jumping in, here's a reference. It's not a super high resolution reference. It's not a necessity to have high resolution. Usually it's good, but the most important is that the pictures are matching. So the level of the eyes, the level of the chin, mouth and nose are usually matching. It's not 100%. Usually you can't find pictures when the ears are matching as well, because the head is usually tilted in one view. So for example, in the front view, the eyesight level is a little bit lower than the top of the ears. And in the left view, you can see the eyesight level is level with the top of the ears. So you can't really find perfect matching pictures. Now, because of this, it won't make it perfect. It will guide you, it will help you, but your decisions are made by yourself and not just by comparing to the images. And also, I had this picture, and this picture was, I made it symmetrical. I've mirrored the eyes and the mouth part because it's easier on the eye when I do my modeling. But if you want to make it look very close to the original, you have to model asymmetrically. So model it in symmetry first and then matching the other part to pick up the nuances. But usually that's done with digital sculpting and not polygon modeling. Okay, let me go to the front viewport and go and create a plane and drag it out. Function key 4 to see the number of segments, and I will reduce the number of segments right away and convert it into an editable poly, and go to the left viewport and pull it on here. It's somewhere, even if I don't see, I know it's there. Function key 4 is our friend. If you are disturbed by the grid, you can press G to turn off the grid, but if you are a beginner, I don't recommend it, because otherwise you find yourself in orthographic views instead of left views and other things. We can make it see-through by pressing Alt-X, and if you're pressing number 1, that will enter us to vertex mode, edge mode, etc. So I will go to number 2 and select this edge and rotate it slightly, and shift and drag and rotate it slightly, and as you see, it's a little bit thicker than the original. So let me go there and select this guy, W, shift and drag, and rotate it here. So I'm not going crazy about details here. I just want to pick up many things. And right now I'm not worried about how three-dimensional it is, but here we go. We have now ladder 2. So we have now a base half round, a quarter round. Okay, shift and drag. And right away, I like to rotate and make the changes. Otherwise, it will be more and more complex over the time. So shift and drag and rotate. And do we need another more? Maybe. This should be the center, so we can connect these guys. I think it will be fair. So now I will move on to the other direction. And the reason I'm hesitating, the reason I'm thinking through this is because the more polygons I make, the more work I make. So I have to focus on keeping the poly count low, and that's the key of low poly, that to think a little bit ahead, and instead of overcomplicating things in the name of quality, you can and you should try to avoid issues like that. Alright, so here we are. My goal is presented, so even if it's not perfect, I will go from here and look at some of the corrections, and I will try to weld these, target weld with this. Alright, great. So as you see, what I did is roughly I tried to follow the shape, and I was looking for this edge and this edge because these will be connected, and I can split this up into quads later on. So when we want to fill the bottom of the eye, we can do that. Well, let me go to vertex level and just push these vertices a little bit. Now, ideally, you can create another loop around here to make it a little bit better, but first we are just looking for the overall shape. We can always further subdivide it so we can add more, but here it's not the goal. Maybe this. Okay, right, good. This one should be here, this one should be here. Right, so before we are moving forward, we must check it in this one in 3D perspective. Right, it's quite crucial to make it work at the beginning, otherwise it will be just overly complex. Let me Alt W and change the views and see it from here and see it from here. Okay, so I will start with the outer parts. Let me go and select letter 4, polygon level, holding Control and move them. This is the corner of the eye, so this should be somewhere here, and I'm rotating this. Alright, you can see now there's a mismatch, so you have to stick to one reference the most. So my most important reference is the front view. So if this corner, for example, it's not level, I'm not worried about this. I'm much more interested in and out. So how is it positioned here in this direction, in the horizontal direction, and not really about the vertical direction. Vertical direction comes from here. Okay, so that looks good. All right, I'm going to edge level, select this, and start from there, and move it along the y-axis. I'm picking this up, rotating around. Oh, I was rotating it too much. So if I press number 4, I'm going back. Look at from the bottom, can help a lot. Okay, ladder edge 2, holding down Control and move. Okay, this is the very front of the eye. Let me go to F, front view. So this should be at the most outside. Now pressing Z to zoom in. Actually, the bottom parts will be dragged in a little bit more. And I don't want to go anything crazy, selecting these and pushing them a little bit inside and rotating them a little bit inside. So now we have an arc. Okay, the center, the inside corner of the eye should be a little bit closer to the front, and this should be a little bit back, so it makes a nice and rounded shape. And of course, the bottom areas, like polygons like this, should be a little bit pushed in towards the ears. Or maybe I will rotate this slightly. Okay, and that's it. Alright, so picking this up, just a natural angle, and we can go, once we are fixed on a polygon level, we can go out. Alright, so this can help a lot to start with, and go to front and check. Now it's sliding off and pulling this down. So this is a nice rounded shape. Probably this corner should be a little bit pushed outside. We can add a thickness, and that will generate more things. And right now the eyelids are a little bit open, and we have a thick eyelashes, but just try to go with a neutral look. Okay, it's time to set up Symmetry and look for how things are going. So modify list, symmetry, where you are, symmetry, here we go. And of course it's wrong, so I will switch to X, left and right symmetry. And the center of symmetry is placed where the original plane was. So I'm going into mirror and right clicking here at the X to set it, snap it to 0, and we will flip because the empty side was mirrored to the opposite side. Okay, so if your picture is not perfect, usually you will find that this is a little bit off. I will just drag the whole thing, as I see now. I will just drag the whole thing and push it to the outside. So let me see that. Okay, it's much better. All right, now, so let me turn this back off, and what I will do is let me maximize the viewport. Is I will go and develop this further. So going edge, select this edge, so flatten this like scale and X along. I'm flattening it, and selecting 3 more, pressing W and holding down Shift, and drag and R to flatten it, and W, Shift and drag. So we need a couple segments to actually be able to pick up the nose shape. And one more segment, but that segment will be actually right in the dead center. So let me flatten this, going in. Here we go. So this is quite obvious. It will go upwards. Here, these lines will go down. But before we are going crazy, let me clean up the topology here a little bit more. Okay. And of course we have to, with these points, we have to trace the very edge, all right? Because these are in the middle, so I have to rotate this, and it's easier to rotate them as a bunch. And now I've traced the whole thing. So before we are going very into details, I will select these points, lift them up a little bit, rotate them slightly. Alright, and move them up. Why do we have to take care of this? Let me maximize the viewport, going perspective, zooming in. So, as you see, these, if we want to create a nice nose with a, I should say it's not a flat surface here, but it's like a plateau here is a little bit, it's not an edge, so definitely a nose is not an edge. So if you don't pull it out, it will become an edge. Let me show that this edge. We want to avoid that, so we want to create a nice bridge around the nose, and to make that happen we have to pull these points and also slightly rotate, and that's it. These should be angled, and as you see, this is not a trick. This is how classic sculpting works. You have to watch it from the side and from below and from the top in order to, if you want to make it good. So I've done a couple hundred heads in clay in a classical sculpting way, and the only way to make something that looks really good is to look from below and check it time to time. It's not just about the front views and not just about the basic other things. You have to use as much angles as you can. Now, so yes, we have a large area here. We will go with that, but first we want to build up the outlines. All right, so this is what we do: outlines like the eyes, contours like the profile contour, position like the shape and the edge of the mouth. So we are looking for these. Once you have those, and once you catch the details there, you can be, let me say, not sloppy, but it can be easy on the forward. So let me drag it, and I will try to maintain this kind of a polygon size. So drag once, twice, and here we are, and I think it should be good. Let me flatten this along the y-axis, and this is the peak of the nose. So what I will do is look at from the left viewport and pull it out. All right, so that's the peak. And as you see, some things are matching, some things don't. So I'll try to kind of blend and try to look for both references, left to right. But in general, the perspective that the main thing that I'm looking for. Okay, here we go. So from this, we will be able to grow further. So let me go to the left viewport and go to vertex mode and select these vertices. Show and result is a very useful thing. Now I'm just grabbing on here, and maybe this one's pulled a bit more. Okay, we may want to add another polygon loop here, but yeah, at first this should be okay. Now, how to move further? So we can and we need to grow this area a little bit more, but before we do it, I will try to complete it here. So edge, shift and drag, and scaling it down. So this will be good for the nostrils and the holes there. So I will hold down shift and drag it further, and actually this should be at the bottom of the nose. So where we are here. So I'm pulling this back at here. These vertices are already turning. So this is what we are doing now. We need to push this. Right, that's how we go. Right, this polygon is definitely longer than its optimal, and to create a nice shape around the nose, it's not really ideal. So what I will do, I will go use Alt C. It's cut, and we'll cut it through. Okay, so the cutting tool is really useful for here. And I'll go into left viewport, and what I will do is I will trace from the left viewport. So as you see, my main focus is on the outlines. So right now, because there's a hole and here's a wrinkle, I try to make those first, and then we'll go and try to fill the gaps. Okay, and if you use as low polygons in count as possible, usually you don't have to worry too much. Now let me go to vertices, selecting these vertices, going to front viewport, move it. Alright, fairly good. Right, okay. So here we are, and we definitely need to have some kind of thing here. Here we have a missing polygons. So what we can do is we can actually switch to edge mode, shift and drag, and I will weld these points, this point here, or just drag this, and this should be welded here. Yeah, okay. So target, weld here. This point in the front viewport, this is a little bit lower. There you go. So now front viewport and left viewport are not matching because the head is tilted a little bit forward. So this is why I will pick the left viewport for myself, and actually let me just lift this a little bit higher. So the main reason I do these modifications is because this edge will be a pairing match of this one. Okay. And then we can go to edge, select these, shift and drag. Okay, and then we'll be able to close this up. Right, good. Okay, perfect. Maybe rotate it even more. And let it number one, and pull it up. All right, perspective. Good. Good. And we can match these actually, so we can create the cavities, the holes. Okay, there. All right. Now it's getting better and better. So what I will do is I will try to fill this gap in and close this area. So how to close it? We will go with edge, select this edge, go to the front viewport, and shift and drag till this, and shift and drag. This point will be welded to that point, and I will go one step further because that point will be welded as well. So vertices, target mode, target weld to here, and target weld to here. Perspective. This is how it looks. So now we have this top lip area started, and naturally there is a wrinkle going around here. Let me go to the front viewport. In the front viewport, this should be somewhere here. This should be somewhere here, and this is going towards this peak. Okay, so that's what we do now. Perspective. And the problem is that this one is a little bit inside, which one is not bad, but this should be definitely out to create a rounded nostril look. Okay, so that's what we do. And of course, we need to go to edge level, shift and drag, and actually we can go to target weld, the edge itself, and boom, front viewport, vertex level, and select this vertex and push and pull this towards this direction. Okay, so because we have this mouth area, and this is how the power lines of the mouth area and the anatomical, the surface anatomy is going this way. So this is why we have to follow that with our polygons. This is called polygon flow, and usually it is using anatomy as a reference, so the deformations and everything. Okay, so that's good. Now we have to fill up this area, and how to do it is going to edge and selecting these and shift and drag and going to front viewport. That should be okay. Left viewport, that's definitely, we need to pull this back a bit. Perspective, and then we can go to target weld to the edges that are already good. Okay, so these are already good. I'm pulling and matching those. Okay, definitely it's just these points are too much outside, so I'll pull them back. Left viewport where they should be. Maybe this point should be there, this one should be there, and we need to go further here in this direction. Now as I see these are fairly elongated, so right away before I'm going in a very further distance, I will go to edge, select the Alt L as loop for edges, or you can use this loop function and right click and chamfer where you are. Now this chamfer is not the chamfer with settings, so this is chamfer with settings, this is chamfer, and I'm just going in and just split it up, which one I don't like because it's a different type of setting. So let me go with chamfer and settings, and this chamfer should be a classic triangle chamfer. Okay, so that should be the default for now, and that's fine. Now we can go and adjust these to pick up the trace lines, and now I'm just organizing them to look even. Okay, it's the best thing if you do it manually. So as you see, it's just to make it a little bit tidy. It's tidiness is not about aesthetics, or not purely about aesthetics. If your points are a little bit more tidy, you can recognize mistakes easier. So that's the reason we are doing this. So okay, shift and drag, and definitely we have to go to front viewport. This is too much. Pulling this left viewport, pulling this closer, and there would be another weld. Front viewport, good. Okay, so let me weld those. So this edge is welded to here. This edge is welded to here. Good. Okay, and we want to fill these. So front viewport, shift, and match those two as well. Okay, perspective. So that's where we are now. Alright, these vertices are looking a little bit funky, So something happened with this guy. And this one in the left viewport, how does it look? Not that good. Going to front viewport, checking. Alright, so this is a nice kind of spider web that will go. So this one will go to this direction, this one will go naturally towards this. Let me fill the gaps we have. So we have one stripe of polygons going here, one stripe of polygons going here, and okay, so let me go there. Edge mode, selecting these, left viewport, and shift and drag, shift and drag. So these will be welded here, shift and drag. Go to front viewport. That should be rotated. Alright, I will undo this. Just Control Z. Okay, this one should be okay, although it should move towards this direction. Right, and before we're moving forward, let me weld this and pull it up. Okay, and weld, and front, and vertices. Here we go. So these will be matched there, and these will be matched somewhere else, and we need to change the polygon count a little bit more. Okay, fill these gaps and target weld. This one to here, this one here, this one here. Alright, okay, so we have a nice flow going on. Okay, so, it's worth to check Alt-X to make it see through it. Now it's time to check how it looks with Symmetry, Turbo Smooth. So there we go with Turbo Smooth. The nose shape needs some correction, and this is the result. So we definitely want to pull these points in to shape the nose a little bit better. Function key 4. Alright, so we can play with that. And of course, if you want to make it more rounded shape, you can drag and pull it out. And for the nostrils, we can play with these. Okay, yeah, right. If we want to make it a wider nose or thinner nose, you can play with these. Alright, so let me turn off Turbo Smooth and go to vertex level. We don't need Symmetry now. And if you turn off function key 4 and you see some of the polygons are smooth, some of the polygons are faceted, that's because this smoothness is set automatically, and sometimes it is really hard to see. Now I will complete this area and then I will smooth them out, and oh no, it's right away. Number 4, that's polygons. Control A to all the polygons to select all of them, and we are going to auto smooth, and that's it. Now it's smooth automatically. We can do it again, and we can adjust the auto smooth to a higher degree, and that way these will be smooth as well. Okay, it helps a lot to pick up the ideas. Alright, so vertex level, function key 4, and yes, we want to follow these natural flows. Okay. Alright. Now, here there's a density issue here, so what I will do is I will go to polygon level, delete this polygon, and we'll create a new polygon in a little bit of different manner. So edge, drag it here, shift and drag. We have a polygon, but it's not won't be placed like this. it will be placed like, let me go back to shift and drag. It will be placed and welded in a different manner, because this point, yes, this will be welded here, but this one won't be welded there. So let me target weld the points, and then select this point, and this point as well. Okay. And now here we have another stripe. Okay, it's the edge. Start, and that will be our other stripe. Okay, so we have a kind of a density change here. That's what we do. And vertices, vertex, target weld, and match that. So whenever you see a rotation in the polygons, you can create this kind of a split. Okay, so here we have 2 because the side is 45 degrees rotated, and then you have a chance to add more polygons. Let me go to the front viewport and check that. Smooth it out a little bit. And we need more polygons because, you know, we have a bigger surface going around here. Perspective. And yes, it's pushed in too much, so I'll need to push it out. And this is just vertex pushing. You can't describe it any better way. So that's how you do it. Left viewport. Alright, so it's a nice curvy thing in the front viewport. It's relatively nice as the edge. Alright, so I'm just focusing on creating the flow, the natural flow of these. And this was good for picking up the nose, so I will not, the nose shape, I will not going crazy about those. Right, on L, now everything is selected. We don't want to select these guys, so Alt and drag. Alright, so that will be good for the overall shape of the head. Left viewport. Definitely we need to push it a little bit further, maybe rotate it slightly. Okay, perspective. Yeah, this is a bit negative, but we will work on it. But right now, front viewport, this looks good from a structural standpoint. And now make the corrections. So I'll select the vertices, left viewport, and to make it a little bit easier on me, I will turn on smooth selection or soft selection. So use soft selection, and this is fairly large, so we have 20 centimeters of range, but I will reduce it to about 2 centimeters. So now I'm able a little bit to select a little bit more in advance. You don't have to select one by one. We can turn this on and off, make some corrections if you wish manually, and then move forward. Alright, so there we are. We can also select the point, use soft selection, and for example, in this case, if we want, we can use where you are, relax. So soft selection and relax in combination can do great things in order to clean up the mesh topology for yourself. Yes, you have to be careful, but it's a good starting point when you have something half done. It's not really useful if you are using it around edges. So inside surfaces are better, but be careful, don't destroy some details you have already modeled in. Alright, so front and rotate and push it here. So now we are creating this spider web around the cheeks and the eyes. Alright, so that's how it goes. Perspective and left viewport, and of course I know I should weld these here, so I will push until it starts welding. And I know that I have to pick up the face as a general shape, so I'm also rotating on that direction. Perspective, you can see. So I was selecting all of them and start rotating around. Right, and that's how it goes. And weld, so target weld to this point, right? And left viewport, shift and drag, rotate even more, Okay, that may be a good direction, but these are so much stretched out. I have to do something else about this. Maybe I need to carefully or reduce the polygon count that I have here. Okay, because it's not an issue if I'm using large polygons, but it is an issue if I'm using stretched polygons. So to avoid that, we need to use some tricks to get results, or we can divide this thing further. But first, let me weld this area, front viewport, and definitely we need to, before welding, so I made an undo, I will rotate it and push it here, because this is the angle, so it needs to pick up the face a little bit better. Let me go and look from the bottom. Alright, so this was previously definitely not good, so let me undo this. Maybe I can even go further with that. And that's it. Left viewport. Good. Perspective. Right, now it's time to weld these here. Okay, so what to do? My goal here is reduce the polygon count. I have nice squarish polygons here, but here we have a couple stretched ones. So these bad eggs, how to deal with them? So I'm selecting a pair of edges. Let me switch to a different color. Probably that helps to see it a little bit better. Like this. Okay. I don't know if you see the red a little bit better or not. Maybe bluish. It's worse than ever. Okay, right now. So what you need to do here, it's better if we're selecting it in the middle. So these are the edges I'm selecting, and what I will do, I will collapse them, right click and collapse. And here we have two triangles, and as you know, we don't want to create triangles, so I will select this triangle in the middle, this edge, right click and remove. And here we have a quad, another quad, somewhat similar that we did here. Okay, so now this is fairly safe if you do it here, or you can create a full edge flow that's going down to the bottom, but basically it's just a rough general low poly head, and if it looks fine from the shape standpoint, it should be okay. So now we are getting closer. We have this nose thing going on. Probably the width of the nose is too much, so checking from the front reference that I see that's as I was pushing, it was a little bit too much, so we can turn on soft selection, going a little bit further and pull it in. Okay, and just see if it's better or not. Yes, it is better. Okay, and soft selection, if it was turned on and remain turned on, that's not good, because we see everything in colors later on. Alright, so now these polygons are much better. These are still stretched, so I have to pull them back a bit and regulate them, but this will be okay. And front viewport, yeah, it's too much to the outside, so now let's pull back. It's good here. Alright, and we have to start and move from this direction and going forward. Alright, so edge, and selecting these this pulling, and maybe I will touch to the mouth area. No. Perspective. Okay, left viewport, definitely we need to go and push this forward. These points, Alt X, make it see through front viewport. Right. Okay, so it's hard to follow. Left viewport is a little bit, it's a little bit higher. Front viewport is a little bit lower. This is happening all the time with reference images, so you have to be creative. Okay, now I'll create a smaller stripe in order to keep it not sharp, but it will be a turning point in the shape. So I will use that and to trace and solidify the contour of the ellipse a little bit better. But now, well, it's time to move on towards this direction and rotate it slightly, because we need a round circular spider web like polygon stripe like we did here. Okay, to corner of the mouth, the very corner of the mouth, and rotate it here. Alright, so that will be the turning point. These are the critical things. We have a very center edge, just like here and here. These we can connect it, and when we make the cavities for the mouth, then it will be good, or it could be good. Target welding and point and edge and drag and rotate. And drag and rotate, and these are going in this direction. Okay. So if I have an edge here, that's good. If I have one here, I'll stop it here. Then drag. This will be matched with this one. So if you want to create a cavity inside the mouth, and you want to make that also a quad only model, you have to I should say it's better if you count it. It's easier to look for the matches. So this is the very center. These polygons and these polygons could be matched, and we can create all quad content, mesh content. Alright, so this is good for the front, but of course in the left viewport we are fully off. So what we have to do is, because this is the dead center, left viewport, pull it out, and I will try to trace and imagine that this one's a little bit offset. So I'll pull it a little bit higher, but not that much. I'm looking for the extreme outside. So how much is it outside? Go to the front viewport, select these left viewport, pull them in, and these, and look at from the bottom. Okay, I was not enough with these pulling. The lips will be rounded, hopefully, and doing this, moving, rotate. And these points are definitely inside too much, so rounding. And these two are usually, let me select these, are usually pretty much outside. So the Cupid's arc is somewhere here, the Cupid's bow. Alright, that's it. And this is the outline contour of the mouth. Now we can move forward and create the inside level. And to do it, go to front viewport and edge, and drag till the middle. Okay, so till the middle, I'm just flattening this and actually drag this one as well. We need to weld it, so dragging this one and this one using scale R and shift and scaled it a little bit. Can you see? I have it, and right away I'm pulling it. Okay, so that's what I did now. All right, we have some welds. I'm afraid these are not welded as well, but these are welded, no problem. Okay, so target weld the edges here. We don't need to do it there, but these are the turning point of the mouth. Okay, so this should be these two a little bit inside already. These are also a little bit inside, Good, and these are actually turning a little bit back on. I will pull these based on the left viewport. I can see these points. Alright, perspective. Yeah, okay. It's getting better. Here probably because I've moved it quite a lot. These are just now too much outside, so I'll pull them a little bit back. Good. This is the center of the mouth. Okay, now I'll do the same thing. Here it's just lifting this up. This is usually, it's a little bit higher, so we have an arc like this. The top mouth is usually 3 parts, so we have one big lip part. Of course, it's mirrored. There's a center little puck here. The bottom, we have one bump here and one bump here in the mirrored opposite. So we have five parts all in general like these, and then these are turned into the general shape of the face. Okay, just going with the edges. Number 2. And drag and shift and drag. I will choose this one as well. Shift and drag using the scale to flatten this a little bit. It's just being lazy, moving down, and it's right. Alt X to make it see-through. It's right in the center, so I don't have to worry that much. Maybe this one, and we need to catch those, fill that gap, and letter 2. Drag and target weld here and here. Okay, and vertices, and now we need to make the corrections of that position. So it's fairly outside. It's fairly outside. And go in, and now we will create the inside, the final thing before we can actually turn and make the cavities. To make it easy or easier, at least, I will select edge, press Alt L to select the loop of the edge, go to scale mode, shift and drag. It will scale it down, but I'm not going crazy. The goal here is just to easily copy them, and then stretch and focus on stretches to the inside and focus on maintaining this fairly good position. So that's what we do, and scale it along because of that corner and pulling it back. We want to maintain the line of symmetry. Go to the left viewport and pull it inside. Okay, that's how it goes. Right, now Alt X, make it see-through. And this is a slide open mouth, nothing crazy, and but it is there, and will be a good starting point. So if we want to make it a little bit more protruding, for example, the bottom one, we can actually play with how much it could be closed, like function key 4, and we can drag these points and pull them down to create the shape of the mouth a little bit better. So now it's a little bit more female like. This polygon, for example, if we have this polygon and this is pulled up a little bit. That also looks more, there's more to it. Now here, something is happening because the shape is not following. So if we want to fully make the lower lips and make them believable, even that fairly low poly level, we have to work with the chin, because there's this harsh shadow, and if you don't see that shadow right now, it's flattened out. It's not bringing anything to the table. Okay, so let me turn this off. And here's the shadow I was talking about. We definitely need to pick and pull this up. And we definitely need to pull this back from the left viewport. So these 2 points, left viewport, how they look, they should be way behind. So yeah, that's it. To create that rounded shape of the lip. Okay, front viewport, and then we can go to edge level, select these edges, and start shaping the chin, the tip of the chin, and just going and trying to pick this up. And left viewport. And of course tracing the outlines, so pulling this, and we definitely need front viewport. This one, just I have to create this edge, the silhouette. So this is why I'm wondering how the points should be driven in order to create a nice curvy transition of the shape. So this is why we'll do this edge, Alt L, Shift and drag, and now that should be the very bottom contour of the figure. So pull this in, and but if we want to maintain the curvature, we have to select these points and pull them back, front. Okay, now there is some welding issue, but let me go to perspective and see it for myself. Okay, this is looking good. In general as a shape, and but the problem is that this chin is flat. It's super flat. Okay, it's super duper flat, and also the corner of the mouth, it seems to be a little bit flat as well. So what I will do is select these points, these 2, and making soft selection, and reduce soft selection a little bit, and trying to push this back. Can you see how it's naturally becomes better, at least at the corner of the mouth? It really needed that. Here, let me turn this off, and I have to do it the traditional way, like really pushing that point. I don't want that point to have. So I'm using Alt, drag, having my selection, so drag and turning back on this, and pulling, and maybe the chin is a little bit more pointy. And okay, so let me just push this a little bit to the outside, this point. Okay, front viewport, function key 4, we don't want to see it. Okay, where we are. Alright. Right. Okay, go to the left viewport and try to follow with this. So edge, and select these edges and push them in this direction. Alright, tracing the silhouette of the chin, the mandibular, and yeah, definitely need to move in this direction. Perspective, and these I was a bit early moving on. Vertices, and this vertex should be welded here. So target weld, and let me see how it changes the whole thing. This point where we are, this point is actually not that bad. The position of that point is not that bad, so let me turn this off. Pull it a little bit forward. Polygon count, this point, where it is, left viewport. Moving this one. Good. Okay. These are fairly large polygons, which one I like. So we don't have crazy amount of detail, only details where we actually want or where we actually really need in desperation. So here, that polygon should be positioned there, which was good. So edge, and drag this polygon, target weld the edges, target weld here, and this point should be front. Function key 4 should be a little bit moved aside. Okay, so I try to make it as low as possible, and we definitely want to divide and insert a density change. So here, this edge will be followed this way, going to front viewport, shift and drag, and that will be matched to that edge, moving, rotating in this direction as well. Okay, perspective, how does it look? Alright, so I'm matching from the front, matching from the left, angles and position as well. So shift and drag, scaling this up, moving up to this, so matching here, rotate. Now it looks like it's a continuous thing. Go to the front viewport and do it again, pulling it out and matching to the needs. Okay, because the actual shape of the head is turning that direction. This is why I do this change. Alright, target weld these, and ideally we have those edges welded, but if not sure, target weld to this edge level, target weld to here, and target weld to here. Okay, so just to make it in order. These are fairly stretched out, so we will see what's going on. This one is already stretched, but we'll try to maintain the polygon flow. So select this edge and this one, front viewport, and shift and drag and perspective. So we can actually build from this direction, left. How much is it stretched? A lot. Yeah, it's a very stretched out thing. But what happens if we take this closer to this point, and this is at here, and this should be welded to this, right? How does it look? Okay, not bad. We can actually bring these back a little bit more and naturally create the curve. Alright, so we are going to edge mode, target weld to here, target weld to here, and actually start building up and connect these. So tracing the silhouettes. Here we are, front viewport. Now we are creating the chin before we are getting done with the polygons inside. So making the outline of the chin, front, again, left, good, shift and drag, and shift and drag, and good. Maybe these move to this direction, okay. And these could be flattened, moved, perspective, front, where we are with those, inside, rotate them slightly, perspective, front, rotate them slightly, moving it outside, good. Okay, Okay. So now we have plenty of more polygons we want to deal with in order to make the chin look good. So here we should insert, or we can weld actually this to that point, which was good. This to that point, how does it look? Alright, and this to that point. Alright, we have a nice star going on here, which is not really the best thing we can look for. So let me undo this a little bit more, and I will insert a couple more things. Vertex, and pull it, and pull it back. Let me see how the final shape looks. Alt Q, perspective, okay. So this is a little bit puffy here, welding issues coming on, and we definitely don't have eyelids and other things. Also, we don't have the cavities, but it looks good from the first side. This is a little bit too much, so what we have to do is pull this back in, definitely, and maybe this one is also a bit too much outside, and yeah, okay, Alt X, and this point, this should be a little bit here to make it more rounded. Good. And because there is a cavity and that's open, usually where you have cavities open, the shape is a little bit harsh. It looks distorted. So you can see how it flanges. So here because we have an opening here, it can't really smooth with the other end. So this is why it looks a little bit odd. So that's why filling a gap is a good idea. So let me do this here at the nose, just to show how much it will be better. So just let me shift and drag, make a copy for comparison, and do this and select and go to edge mode, and actually I will go with the border mode. Select this border, scale, shift and drag, and pull it in. Not much, but at one level, and then shift and drag and pull it in. That's how it goes, and maybe scale it down, and I want to fill this, so edge, W, drag, and go to target weld and target weld the sides. Okay, so that's how we roll. So now we have this welded thing, and it looks much different. So as you see that because we have now the cavities, the smoothing is a whole lot different. Okay, you can play with this. So once you have these adjusted, here there is a kind of a collapse, so we can pull this out a little bit more. Make the nose a little bit more rounded, because we were using a soft selection to match this, but it was fairly harsh. Okay, and right now the direction, it's not a too deep hole cavity, so if you want to make it much more believable, you have to really pull this in, and the angle is also important. So you want to create an angle like this, and even if you want more shadows, what you can do is you can use Swift Loop and go inside and add a Swift Loop inside the edges, and go to edge mode and use scale to add a cavity, and going in. So now we have some cavities is there. So if you show it from below with the camera and you paint it relatively dark, it will be much easier. Okay, so let me delete this guy and perspective and go to vertex mode or edge mode, function key 4, and as you see it's faced it again. So before we are going forward with the modeling, Ctrl A and go in and use where you are, not relax, but where's smoothing, where's so much to smooth, and here we are. Right, okay, function key 4, and what we do want is making this thing to happen like this should be welded there. Actually would need more of it. So I will do the same thing that I did previously, like copying these and trying to match them. And okay, I will leave this star here right now and deal with that later on if I have to. Alright, target weld here, and this is target welded here, and check it in 3D. So it looks good. Okay, of course the edges, so now it's isolation mode. Let me leave that. Alt Q is isolation mode, and I'm afraid this is too much outside, so we have to already turn this back on in order to go to the front viewport. Function key 4. These are, yeah, okay, now I see more of the chin. Left, Z, okay, so that was the issue. Alright. Okay, perspective, see what's happening. Okay, it's not bad. The chin is shaping. That's good. This one is a little bit too much outside, so I'm pulling this back in. It was too much of a round. Some roundness is okay, but if there's so many, it's not that. Okay, pulling this back a little bit to the outside. Least amount of points we can use. Usually the better control we have in the overall shape. Okay, these, because talking about the female, it's good if we pop these points a little bit in each direction, so front and left. This point as well. It's hard to see, but here in the quarter view you can get it, and you can get it in silhouette. So here's the level of the eye, and here is the silhouette, and it's forward with nose. You can see now it's a little bit concave here. So what I do is I'm pulling this and looking for the silhouette, and it's more and more outside. Yeah, I don't have to go crazy, but that's it. Probably this one should be a little bit more outside as well, and probably in the front as well. Okay, and now it's a better silhouette. Turbo Smooth is set to only 1, I guess, so it's still not a crazy resolution. We can go a little bit higher, and it will generate a little bit nicer transition here. Vertex, this one is a little bit inside, so what I will do is soft selection, and function key 4, no, and use the relax and add some relaxations. This very subtle relax was enough for me now. Okay, that's good. Now, moving forward and completing the chin, soft selection turn off, function key 4, and turbo smooth. No, I don't need everything right now. Alright, so getting closer to the main body, so that's what we do. Okay, and right, so this is the sides, and we're looking for completing the chin, the mandibular area, function key 4. So edges, and as you see, I've stopped at the earlobes. So because here we have some kind of a connection point, so selecting these edges, shift and drag, we'll weld them later on. And I definitely need a turning point here. And there's a tragus, so that will be the next step. We definitely need a point there. Probably rotate it slightly, so this point should be welded to here, this one should be welded to there, and going further, we can go and weld that one over there. So we have some kind of a rhythm that goes along, and right now I have made plenty of polygons, so before I'm moving forward, I will do the welding thing. So target weld this edge to this one, this edge to this one, and this edge to here. And of course, polygons are stretched fairly, so we need to go to vertex level or somewhere there, and just from the side view, now I try to repair these things from the side view. Just focusing on maintaining a relatively believable edge flow. So this point should be somewhere here in the center. This is looking good. This one's looking good. Maybe we can distribute them a little bit more even. Here we go. And all right, this is promising. Okay, this is promising. Good. Let me go to and check it in the front view. So how does it look? Yep, the widest part is, so this is not really a true front photo. This is slightly rotated, I guess, so we see more of the ear than usual. So usually the highest point, the widest point, if you don't count with the ears, because of course the ears are hanging out, but the widest point is usually this area, okay? So let me go into perspective and highlight that. So this area, then the head just slightly starts to turn and stalling. So this one, this is, it's not really possible. So this area, we should not see that. It should be flat. So I have to take that in consideration and try to select these points and pull them out. But these should be further than the ear. So I will take these, leave them as they are, and pull this area out. And as you see, my little trick that I don't do anything crazy, I'm just looking from the top, okay? Look for this arc. Look for the natural arc of the human face. If you don't have a reference, use a mirror or create photos of yourself. And that way you will understand how these relations are going on. Okay, so this is fairly good. We should and we can complete the bottom of the chin. So how to do it? First of all, let me just handle these and distribute them to be more even. Okay, just if it's aesthetically pleasing, if it's a clean curvature, usually that's a good sign of a good quality mesh as well. And as you see, I'm not going crazy about details and resolution. The goal here is to get the best result without any unnecessary polygons. Okay, so what we can do is go to Edge and start with copying a couple edges around. So shift and drag and copy these. And okay, maybe flatten them a little bit. Alright, so what I will do is I like the stretch of these. We definitely need no more, but here we should do this trick that moving the point a little bit offside, then go to edge mode, select this edge, holding the control, copying it, and now this will be welded there. So target weld, vertex level or edge level, it's up to you. Now you can see we just made a joint here, so there's a little bit more points going on. We have more resolution. I will slightly change it. Okay, see it rounding. Good. Looks okay from the left viewport. Looks nice. Tracing is looking good. Okay. I definitely would need to fix this, so I will just try to weld. There's a welding issue, so how to manage it quickly. On the x-axis, I need to put it in 0, push it in 0, so I right click on here in the arrows will set those. And if you don't have too many points, you can actually grab one by one. That's one of the advantages of low poly, that you relatively don't have to push and move too many points at a time, and that can simplify things on a go. Alright, good. Now this is relatively even. Go to edge mode again and shift and drag, and now this will be much bigger. We'll definitely stretch out things, and this is a time when we need to start turning and build up the neck area as well, not just the throat area. Okay, perspective. So definitely, because these are fairly stretched, I will target weld at this point, there. Good. This point is so far from here, there's no point in welding that. B is the bottom view by default. If you press letter V, it will bring you the viewports. And if you press B, then you can zoom in. And if you press Z, it will automatically zoom in as always. So here we are, just a little bit stretching out these polygons a little bit more. Maybe we can reduce the polygon count, so that way I will weld that one just to look, because these are so stretched, so probably I can play with that. Go to left viewport, and yes, so I hope I will be able to build up this stroke. Go to front viewport, Z, zoom in. Okay, I see now the problem here. This was to the side, too much pushed in. Okay, much better. Yeah, we don't want to go crazy with this, but a little bit more to the outside going in. Okay, let us see how does it look. So we have that shape. Okay, so if the chin is not articulated enough, we have these points around, so we can actually play with those, pull them out a little bit more, making the chin wider, the mandible wider. Okay, so it's up to this count. Go to the front view, left view, maybe a little bit higher. Pull this one in a bit more. That's it. Okay, so here definitely we need to create a junction here, because there is quite a bit of a stretch. So that we can any other way we cannot manage it. So it's just copying left viewport and rotate this whole bunch and pulling it down, which one is good. And then we can actually select this edge, shift and drag, and now having that edge and target weld. If it's too close, sometimes it's harder, then we can go to edge mode, vertex mode, and then target weld with the vertices. See the results. Okay, it's relatively good. Right, and of course, this should be a little bit closer to here. So I'm just dragging and stretching these. Okay, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So if we need further resolution, we can actually just divide further. So you can always use Alt-C and cut through things like this, and then just pushing the vertices to conform a little bit better. Here, I think it's a smart move now. So I will select these points, go to the left viewport, and pull them a little bit forward. So now we have less stretched out polygons all around, and this polygon was way too big, so now it's easier to manage and control. The front viewport looks very wide. So if a neck is a little bit thinner than the original, that's usually not that bad. But if you make it thick, that looks really odd. So don't make thick necks, especially for women portraits, not really that good. Okay, so we have this all around thing, all around shape. It's time to focus on and completing the forehead. It's not that hard, but we have to pay some attention to this. So front viewport, an edge. And I will start from here and shift and drag to grow a little bit, and then shift and drag and grow it again, and maybe more. But before we do that, let me make my corrections, like flattening this area, rotating it slightly, because we had a bump here. Can you see? We have that bump, so I will grab that point and pull this a little bit out. So just let me show it in action. So this was a little bit in, okay? It creates an odd look. So we have to match that. It's not in dead center, so right click on the x-axis will help us. Let me stop it here. And now here is already a kind of a connection point. So let me go to the front view, and we have a polygon stripe that follows this eyelid. Between the eyebrow and eyelid area, there is this volume here, which it's significant. Okay, so it's not big, but it is very important because it will generate plenty of shadows and gives a very noticeable facial feature. So zoom in and shift and drag. So now we have this kind of a shape building up, and I will divide it further later on, just a second. So go to target, weld those, and before going crazy, let me just fix this and distribute. Okay, so this is definitely a little bit more out, This is a kind of a bump going on. Okay, perspective, zoom in, press Z to zoom in. Right, that's what we do. Okay, and if you want to create this edge that's going on here, you can always select. Once you have it done here, you can always select and split this up with a chamfer. Yeah, you have to fix a couple things, or if you don't do that, you can actually do it with Connect. That's a little bit easier. We will see that just in a second, but first we want to complete this part. Going to front viewport, and yes, we need a secondary round, so I'm selecting edge again, shift and drag, and leave it as it is, because this will be welded to here, and maybe this overall flow. Yeah, okay, pushing it. Now it's a little bit confusing. You see the stripping, polygon stripping, because by default, when you have a thing like this, each of the polygons actually consists of two triangles, and this center diagonal edge is only visible if the polygon is tweaked a lot and the smoothing is not playing part. So areas where smoothing is okay, you won't see that, but when you have something like this, you will see it. Now, if your eye is not trained that much, what you can do is just time to time go to polygon level, press Ctrl A to select everything, and use the smoothing, auto smoothing feature. Now I set it to about a little bit over, shy 2 degrees, over 90 degrees, but usually about 60 is okay, but it's just to make sure that everything is smoothed out. So auto smooth is done, and now it's a little bit cleaner. Okay, it's easier to for the untrained eye to see things going. Okay, now let me fix this. Push it to the back a bit. Push it to the back a bit. Go to the front viewport. Pull. All right, so tracing that shape is fairly nice. Fairly nice. Okay, I'm happy with that perspective. Right, now this edge should be welded with this one. So we actually need more. We need more edges because it's not connecting there. So what I will do is we can split this up into further parts. That may help on the go. But how much we can split this up. Alright, so that will create a quad chamfer. Okay, that will be a quad chamfer. So to do so, edge, selecting these, because we don't want to split it all the way up, just this part, tiny part, right click, and we're using chamfer with settings. And at the top, this is a triangular chamfer because it creates a tiny triangle there. But if we are selecting quad, it will actually create two triangles, which one sounds worse, but it's not actually. Just let me fine tune it. Now we have this connection, and we can weld this up. So there's plenty of use to have more edges around. So I will just stick with it, pressing OK. So the only thing I've adjusted is to switch it to the width and make it a quad chamfer. And we can go in an edge mode and right click and remove this edge. And we can go to vertex mode, vertex level, target weld, this point there. And this point is actually, it's a quad. So it's like the same rotational quad like we have here, for example, or what we have here. So there's an edge, and you can split this up and create 3 edges from one. All right, that's the main trick to change up density. Or you can create a junction, you can create a joint where different shapes are changing. So for here's my edge flow going from this direction, here's at the bottom, and we have a connection, and then this patch is fitting in. So you can play with these. And right now, so that will be welded. Edge, shift and drag these. Okay, and target weld this one to here, this one to here. Whoa, yes, okay. And then we can actually go to front view, and nothing crazy first. Let me check what's going on. And if it's good, then fine, we can progress forward. If not, we should take care of it. It is still a little bit flat around here, so I will just select this point, turn on something. Now you know, if you see something looks off or you want to change it, don't wait too much. Just try to fix it right away. It's not it has its natural flow, and make fix changes early on, and don't waste too much time if you have a chance to fix something. Okay, probably the mouth, based on the look, is a little bit lower, so the lips, if we select these, should be a little bit lower down. Okay, the mouth is not closed for a reason. I know it looks better here in the picture, but when we are modeling mouth cavity, that can be a little bit of a hassle, a problem. So it's a good idea if we avoid that early on. Push this in, and usually this is a little bit arced more. So if I pull this down, it will be, this is now flat. This is a little bit more arced. And usually this area is also a little bit higher. So we use a soft selection, a very tiny soft selection, and pull this up a little bit. Okay, and just look what happens. Alright, maybe this center part is a little bit wide. So this and this, without soft selection, these should be a little bit more narrow. So I will just drag them and look for the final result. And yes, we have a gap here. So move it until it welds. And this point is even closer. And not just this point, but the point inside should be a little bit closer. Okay, so that makes this thin area even thinner. So rotation. Once you have a selection, it's always a good idea to rotate, and using Alt X to make it see through. And that is it. That is the point. Yes, that's the point. So Alt X. Yeah, that's good. Want to make it more flat, like the nostrils are usually just are flowing. So from here, there's just a little bump here, not much, a little one. Okay, it's not completely flat, but there is just a little bump. So you don't have a kind of a border that's going around here. You don't have a rim all around the nose. Okay, I'll make it a little bit wider by pushing to the outside. Okay, which was that? Alright, okay, and this point should be. Okay, that was a different point. Now, okay, it resembles a little bit better than the to the original. Okay, now it's looking good. This top part of the head is looking good. And from the side view, just let me make some changes here. Just a slight repair. Okay. Probably this one should be pulled somewhere more. This one should be pulled here. And we can always use relax if we wish. We can always do that. Don't forget. And because we have some kind of a density going on here, I can pull these closer to the front. So give some room for these fresh, brand new polygons. But this change requires revisions, so it's not just pulling and pushing forward. Also, you have to look for the outcome on the end. So function key 4, it's looking good, but now it seems to be a little bit puffy here, and this one seems to be just way behind. So that's what I do. And I rotate and looking for a silhouette. Okay, so looking for a silhouette. Nose, this is nice silhouette. There will be, can you see this one and this one are almost in line. We still have one round, so we need to push it a little bit to the outside. This point should be a little bit back. It's too much. Okay. Okay, that's where we go. We're looking for a trace, looking for a silhouette. So the chin is even protruding better. The chin is even more articulated on the picture here, but I will not do that. So just leave it as it is and complete the face part on here. Okay, edge, turning off show and result, function key 4, and selecting this guy, front, and Alt L to loop. Look for the loop. Now it's a pretty long loop, so I have to use Alt and drag to remove. Front, shift and drag. And usually it's a good idea to add some scale and push it to the side. Okay, so just left viewport, looks good. I will do the same, use some scale, but on the x-axis now. Okay, because it's right now we don't have to manually, I don't say manually, but you don't have to individually select vertices and all things. This can help a lot to manipulate things on the go. Okay, perspective. I'm happy with that, what I see. Edge mode, target weld. So now we have another stripe, and then we can make the corrections on the vertex level. So pushing these a little bit to the bottom, towards the bottom. Left viewport, what we see, pulling it further. Right, pulling it further. Pulling it further, okay. These are not even, so I will select all the points and using this grinding ironing technique, the front viewport, where we are. Maybe this should be a little bit closer to the center. I'm looking for the edge flows too. It's when you're doing retopology, for example, you don't have to do these so much manually, but because it's the standard technique, here you have to take care of this edge flow by yourself. So, and try to maintain a relatively clean topology for yourself. So, cleaning up and completing the forehead. Going to edge, shift and drag. As always, plus scale, stretch it out. Just in general, stretch it on a Y direction. I like to do it individually, not both axes at the same time. So it looks nice from the left. I'm going to go to the front view, and seems to be a little bit stretched out, but definitely we need to have more space here. And okay, I see this one is a little bit left off, so I'm not sure about this 100%. So I will make the weld, and then we'll try to make the corrections. Okay, edge, target, welded, good. This area is usually a little bit flatter. Okay, so this peak seems to be too much. So let me see and show the wires. And yes, it's definitely too much. We can't pull this, however, as I'm rotating around, I see that these gaps, these are a little bit inward, so I'll pull them further. This one is also creating a negative bump in here, but usually the brow area is somewhat calm and protruding. Maybe here, just a slightly more. And this one should be dialed back down. This one as well. It's just too much. So in front viewport, pulling it back. So we have plenty of time. Actually, the width, what you see here, is at the level of the ears. So what does it mean? This area. So the overall shape from here will expand furthermore until it reaches its peak thickness from the front viewport. So in the front here, this should be somewhere in the middle and not really that outwards. However, this one is a little bit pushed in, so I will select these and use soft selection with a little bit of a wider range and pull this a little bit outside and pull slightly more. Okay, not much, but a little more. Perspective, do we have a point here? Yes, of course we have. And pull that a little bit further. This, here's a point, let's see. Okay, I will leave it as it is. Right here, this one. Okay, looks good. Perspective, great. Great. Now we have a welding issue here, so without soft selection, the typical solution, right click and weld it. Okay, here there is a stretching going on, which one I don't like that much. So to avoid that, I will pull this back a bit and later on we'll fix. Right now, just the overall. Oh yeah, that's pretty wrong. Let me see from the left viewport. The center is looking good. That's looking good. But if we look at from the bottom, you know, the secret for any type of sculpting is look from the bottom and the top and various angles. If you're just looking from the left or, you know, front, it may be good, but you know, when the line comes in or animation comes in or anything that shows the true nature of your sculpt, you will be that will be busted. So yeah, all right, good, fine. So the more rotation I have, the more information I can receive from my model, and that can help a lot to see what's going on. Okay, now moving, and one more line, edge, show and result turned off, function key 4. We have the pending edge selection, so I will just drag, shift and drag, and move it a little bit behind, maybe drag more, use the scale, stretch it out a bit more, and stretch it in this direction, just to try to cover. Yes, these will be welded together there. Like the overall stretch front view. Probably we should create more. Yeah, I think I was too ambitious, but I'll leave it as it is now and fix it manually. So pull this back a little bit, and these as well. Looking for the edge flow. So if an edge going on here, why it changes direction that way. So it could be a hint to try to make a nice curve. And when you know about these, when you know recognizing the basic shapes of the human head, and how these shapes are growing from one of another, then you can easily follow this. Alright, so target weld, we are on the vertex level, so that's what we do now. Alright, just let me lift this up a bit. We definitely need an edge here, so I'm afraid I need to insert an edge no matter what. So that will be a necessity in this case. I'm pretty sure that will be a necessity. Okay, so this edge should be split up in order to make the side of the head and the ears, pretty much, because these are already stretched. Here there is a density change I need to make. So first I will do that simplification here by using edge level, selecting this edge and this edge, and these as well, and right click and collapse them, and select this one and remove it. And now we have this vertex, and pull it in and see the end. Okay, this one looking nice, good. This was not at the center, so I will snap it back to the center, which was good. This point, you know, the least amount of points, the less you have, usually the easier to control, the bigger, the broader the polygons. But if you have something like this that's stretched out, it's just not working that way. So now we are doing the exact opposite what we did here. So we have one edge, and we will split that up to create more. Right click, chamfer with the settings, and it will be quad chamfer. And right away I'm happy with what I see, so I'll accept. And vertex level, target weld. You can use right click and target weld, or you can use target, which one you prefer, and edge mode and remove edge, or you can go always up here and remove, or right click remove. And definitely we need to go to vertex level. I'm pressing number 1, and just working around. Now What I do is I'm carefully looking at the axis, so it's not just pushing things. I'm also trying to keep it in the same level, front, side. So if you have struggles with that, don't forget to use multiple viewports at the time. So like here, I can see I'm just moving on the X and Y plane. All right, perspective, and yeah, it's looking good. And from left viewport, L left viewport, and just trying to make it work. Right, okay. So ears will be a challenge as all the time. I will start from here and grow from there. And once we have the ears, usually we are just getting better in this in general. So shift and drag. And starting out with the ear. Right now it's not the ear yet, it's just a ramp that leads to the ear. And this is actually Alt X. This would be the first polygon of the ear. And what I do like to do is I like to trace the helix. This is this rim that goes around, because the position of this rim can really determine that what you need to do. And the other thing is that the same thing with the eyes. If your goal is to create a roundness, the look of it, you just have to make it sure that you are using the least amount of polygons. And this is why I'm meticulously adjusting anything before I move forward, because if you're moving forward, you are actually copying a bad orientation, and your eyes and your senses cannot really see what's going on. So this is why I like to trace the outlines and then fill the gaps. Now these polygons will be stretched out. I'm not worried about this that much, because it can save me some polygons. That's economic. But on the other hand, these are usually not stretching or going anything crazy, so you don't have to worry about that much of a deformation. So if something is stretched out at ear level, usually that's not that big of a deal. Now letter 2 and completing. This is not welded yet, so it will be welded here. So just one more. Alright, so that will be the welding point. That will be the welding point. And let me just grab it here just to visually help, even if they may overlap later on. And this is where the fun stops. Okay, so that's what we do now. This is the outer rim. This is not really in 3D yet, so I have to take care of it. As you see, because of the bad projection of the original photographs, which was happening thousands of a time, so you have to make a decision, and usually the left viewport is the most important for the ears, and the front viewport is less important, but we still have very valuable information there. Now I will select all of the points, almost all, okay, almost all of the points, because it's much easier to select them and handle them as one unit. So I will drag all of these and go to the front viewport and just grab to the middle of the ear and then start rotating along this axis. And as you see, I'm just tracing how far it is out. So I'm not worried about that many things that much. And there's an angle on this here, so that's good. That's looking good. Left viewport still looks good, so we can go back to perspective and turn off Alt X. And if you rotate again, you will get an illusion. You will get an info on how these things are working out. This point is a little bit sticking out, so let me just push it back a bit. All right. So go to the left viewport, and what else? Before, we can do many things, but it's better if we just try to fix these connections, so build these up. Now how to do it? We definitely need a polygon here, and this point should be meet with this point, and we need a polygon to be presented there. So I'll shift and drag and go to target and weld this guy and weld this guy, and vertex and front viewport, left viewport, and Alt X to make it see-through and see what's going on here. So here at this area there will be the tragus. Now here's the tragus onto tragus. So that's this little piece here of your ear. So this is the big chunky piece, and the ear flop, and here's the onto tragus. Here's the tragus, if I'm correct, but sometimes I mix them up. But that's how it goes. Now that's flat for now, which one is okay for us. Later we can make it much more different, but right now what I will do is we need to trace this area. So we want to create the earlobes, and back vertex and shift and drag. So there will be a polygon here. Maybe we can already start and shift and drag. Yep, that's it how it goes. And this will be welded here. One more step, and that will be welded there, and then we can follow towards and target weld and weld here of course, and just make and correct the polygons before going crazy. So we have a kind of a flat area. Let me zoom in and show it to you. So it's kind of a flat area, and we have two directions from here. One is going inside to shape and form a ear cavity. This one is going around and creates this kind of a circling helix effect. So to shape that cavity, well, we'll go an edge and perspective, and select this one and this one as well, and shift and drag and towards the inside. Okay, so that can help us a lot to generate that first cavity. Regarding to this direction, I will go and select these. Actually this one too inside. Okay, so these three edges, go to left viewport and shift and drag and just rotate. Don't, even if you see only two, these are actually three. It tells here these are three. And scaling it down, perspective, zoom in, and move it accordingly. And from here, this point should be not that deep inside anymore. So it's going like this. Oh, sorry. Okay. Alt W. If you're not sure, don't forget, you can always do it. But because it's a video record, I don't have too much screen space. So that's what we do. Alt W, and it's not welded here yet, so we can target weld the point. And actually, we need to create this circle all around. So what I'll do is edge, and select this edge loop thing and scale. You know, when you have a rounded shape, usually scale is the fastest way to copy those. And I'm happy with this. Scale it one more to create a second match, and scale it one more. Right, so that's what we do. Probably I will leave it as it is now and make the welds and everything, and then we'll go forward. So target weld, this one should be there, this one should be there, and we definitely need to go inside. So these edges should be already a little bit deeper. This as well. Okay, this as well. Now what I will do is, because there is a cavity, that cavity could be achieved. If you see this is another stripe going on, I will lift this up and push it in a little bit more. Okay, that's what we can do. Right, these couple points are a little bit off already, so it's not just rotating around and along this axis, rotating around. This one is looking not that good, so just moving. Right, this one is looking good. Rotating. Rotation, you know, navigation, that way you're gathering information. So especially if you're doing low poly, it's just, you know, there's not much to tell about low poly if you don't have that feedback from the visuals. Okay, here it is usually on X, it's usually already turning in. So that will turn in. So it's creating a curve, and it comes back and starts to create that turn, and we still need some cavities going on here. Now let me show that. It's really low in resolution, but maybe TurboSmooth will bring up some good things. Okay, so it's far from perfect, but we have something started going on, and if I rotate or isolate Alt Q and just rotate around, it's not bad in general. So we have the ear right in the position, and the volume of the hat is missing, but as a base it is there. So let me go in Alt Q, leave isolation mode, and see it, and complete this ear. And okay, so we can go further, perspective, and yes, we already have that kind of a cavity there, so just selecting the edge, moving in a little bit, and we want to see more, dragging the edge, pulling it up. Alright, that will be the center. Now here I can create a polygon like edge and drag actually these two and target weld this one to here, this one to here, and go shift and drag and alt text to make it a little bit easier in the eye to see which one goes where. So now we have this fill in a ear. Okay, this fill in a ear, and yes, we need to go further. Probably we need another polygon later on here in this area, but I'm not so sure. Selecting that edge as well, and shift and drag along the z-axis. It's a long edge that's created. Which one is, for me, it is fine for now. So target welding. This one was welded here. This one's welded here. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Control undo. And we need some gaps going around. So vertices, you can see it's a little bit jaggy. So I'm pushing this in as well. Move it to the outside. This one should be moved outside a little bit more. And that goes a little bit behind. I will lift this up, pull it in, and actually create a polygon in this area. And that would be just good. Okay, so starting over and doing this. Alright, now fill this gap and select this area and shift and drag and target weld like these edges. So we have now all things. Okay, everything is welded up. Now there's definitely more polygons than we need, so we have to find a transition from this amount to this one. We can add furthermore if we wish, but it's not a necessity. So what I will do is looking around and see for myself. Yeah, okay. So edge and extend and shift and drag. Shift and drag this one, and this will be welded as diagonally. So this was here, this was here. We can go to vertex mode, lift this up, stretch this just to fit, pull it. Alright, we don't want to create crazy things around here. Just this was already inside. We definitely need not a polygon going around here. This was moved to the center a little bit more, right? Just to shape this. And here could be another polygon, and here another polygon, and then we can move forward with a cavity. So edge. So I see the 4 points, and I'm looking for the 4 points. How can I divide this area? So shift and drag, and target weld, or actually shift and drag one more, and target weld, and weld it here, here, and here. And we're good. And now we have a patch of polygons inside. Maybe we can flatten this a little bit, just to make it easier for us. Rotate, and move it a little bit outside, and then Shift E to create a cavity. Shift E is extrusion, basically. Let's see. That cavity, that shape, it's actually kind of an S shape, so it's not a straight hole. So it's going a little bit up and then down, and turns it in 3D quite a lot. So what you can do is create the extrusion, and then just move it to some direction. So like move it towards the bottom area. So when you have the smoothing on, this should look like you can't look into this. So just try to avoid to be able to look directly into the ear, into the hole. Okay, so that should be avoided. Alright, now here we have a basic shape of the ear. We can create the tragus, like if we are already in polygon mode, we can select this, for example, Shift E, extrude it, scale it down a little bit. It's like beveling, and create that one, stretch it out in this direction, rotate, push it back a little bit closer to the body, and yeah, it was too much of a stretch. So it was too much of a stretch. That's it. Okay, it's just a slight thing. Make my corrections with this point. It's just way too close, and this was way too close as well. Alright, so now we have that kind of a bump. Alright, so it's a very low thing. Nothing crazy is happening. Here you can create an additional bump. So if you wish, you can select multiple polygons, like this, Shift E, and create an extrusion and scale it down, and then you can play and adjust with those, pull them up if you wish. Alright, okay. So to create the ear shapes, here's this bump, and to make it blend with the shapes a little bit better, what you can do is on vertex level, you can push these vertices around and remove the distance, like this, or select this point, for example, and pull this back, and these could be a little bit further outside. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes, basically. So we have this initial kind of bump area, and then you can fine-tune it to fit. Alright, if the shape is not exactly that, this could happen because these points are a little bit lowered. But if we pull them out, and for example this one should be tuned in, now it's much more rounded. Okay. Alt X, and show and result turn off. And now it's time to weld this thing together. So now it hangs on a couple of polygons. which was not bad, but far from ideal. So we can go to Edge, Alt L, and look for a loop. That's it. So here we go. Shift and drag to add some thickness to the ear. So I'm not worried right away. I don't worry about the ear thickness too much. And because usually this area is a little bit thicker, I like to use a scale. And here it's a little bit more tiny, but here it's a little bit thicker, which one's good for me, except the earlobes. That will be a little bit different. Now to connect with the ear, what I'll do is I will select these polygons, and right away it's not good as it is, so it creates a step which was not ideal. But my goal is to connect these. So edge, and connect this guy with this one, if I can see it. So edge this one with this one. That's it. So that's the goal. Now we have a continuity. So we have a continuity, and that vertex could be dragged and pulled a little bit outside. Okay, it's because we have so many points here. I will pull these, add some more thickness to the earlobe. Right, just that's it. And grab it. Okay, pulling it in. Good. And going further, so we need to fill the gaps. This point should be somewhere else. Maybe I will lift this up. And this is way behind. This one's as well. This one's as well. So we are leading up to the ear. And move it back. Okay, now these could be welded as well. And everything is a quad target weld. Okay, nice. Going back. Front. This is a little bit of a stretched polygon, but fine for now. Doing it. Okay. We definitely need another polygon from that angle. So we'll build up, and once it is done, it's relatively easy to handle. Okay, now this earlobe needs more volume, so edge, and these will be selected, and I will use scale now because we have to create the underturns. Okay, so there's no other way to do it. If you don't want to weld it onto the head, you have to have that kind of overhang. There is the point. So we have now created this new polygon, and we can actually build a polygon group here. So that now, we can use actually triangles if you don't want to waste too much time on this. But what to do is we can create a polygon from that edge. Strike it down. This is the polygon we have. Pull it back. Okay, and that polygon will be welded to this area. Okay, that polygon, and we can generate more and more and cover this. Okay, so that's how it goes. Here we are, select, that will be welded there, this will be welded there, this will be welded there. So target weld, Alt X to make it see through, and this one is welded here, this one is welded here, and this one is welded here, if it can recognize it. But if not, I have to go move over. This guy is welded to that. So now we have a clean welded part, And this area is a little bit messy, so what we need to do is just to move it along and distribute them a little bit better to have a cleaner view. And if you have so many or too much, you can actually fuse and weld a couple. That way you can shape a kind of a junction point like this. Now I will leave it as it is for now, and then once I have the basics, then I will make the weld. So using that, this will be welded there, there, and no, actually I will stop here, and then we'll go, and then will be another one. So I want to remove some of the edges around here. So to do it, we can target weld. Yep, and target weld. Good. And these edges, this one and this one, should be collapsed. Collapse. And you know, there's an edge in the middle, and I will remove that edge in the middle. Remove. So that's what I don't want. There's another one. Okay, it was a wrong move. Because it was snapping on too much. So instead of that weldment, maybe this one. Weld and remove that one. And now we have, okay, it's a little bit cleaner. So I will weld that way. And there's a quad. So it looks like a triangle, but that is actually a quad behind. Let me isolate, Alt Q and C. So that's actually a quad polygon that's going on. Okay, and let's move on. So I was creating a couple polygons in advance. Let me delete that. Left viewport and leave isolation mode, and organize these things before going crazy about going further, and move it in. Usually the ears are a little bit more complex than other things. People don't like to model ears. I can totally understand why. So if you can simplify it. The goal of this practice is not to simplify things to avoid modeling them. The goal here is just to try to make it work. Alt-X, and usually these are not true things. So it's not happening in real life that you have a totally straight ear without any kind of jiggle. So look for the hints. So what I like to do is I like to pull back in some edges and make sure that the earlobe stands out a little bit more. Look at, okay, it's pretty thick. So I'm looking at the other side. It's pretty thick. This cavity should be articulated more. So let me do that. And I will just pull this in a little bit even more. And if you want, you can use cut. You can even create triangles for yourself. Here it's a little bit of a harder thing to do without any triangles at all, but here if it's not visible, you can actually use Alt-C and just cut from this point to this center and there, if the software can recognize it. Sometimes it can't, so you have to move to a different angle where it can actually see what's going on. And yeah, there is a polygon, so we can cut there. So now we have this little pod. And this is just an example. I'm not really thinking seriously. I have, okay, there's an error with the cat. You can see that's so it was tiny, selecting all the vertices and collapsing them. And now we have one, so we can pull this in, and we can pull this in a little bit further. And you know what? If you want to make it, if you change your mind and say, hey, I really need to make it full quad, just because that's my goal, then you can go in and add a secondary cut manually. And that way, this is not a triangle anymore, and this was not a triangle anymore. And technically, you have a full quad model. And as you see, it's a little bit better that because we have those shadows, it's quite important to have that kind of cavity. And yeah, we can do it here as well, but you know, it's just endless to model all the things all around. Okay, maybe this area should be a little bit pointed out. Probably this one is too much in. This one's as well too much inside. Pushed in too much. Save it for myself. Okay, function before. Yeah, it is better. Okay, and of course, some texture and everything will help later on a lot. Okay, now because we have so many things going, it's time to again go to Polygon, Control A, and make this smoothing thing. And before I complete the whole stuff, I will stop actually once have the second row here at the top, because from that point on most of the crucial things are done, and we will check the eyes as our last session. So that's it. Polygon and edge, and Alt L to highlight the edge loop, and that's it. Left viewport, and shift and drag, and copy it, scale it, maybe even rotate. Yeah, that works. That works. Perspective, front, and see if we can stretch towards this direction. And yes, we do. We can stretch it even more, even further. But every time you stretch horizontally, in this case, you have to check the angles. Alright, so that's it. It's not, if I press number 7, it will show that how many vertices I have. And when turbo smooth is not on, it's 734. It's not everything, but we can increase it a little bit more. Okay, perspective, looking at the back. So we have this vertex, and this should be welded somewhere. I can't weld it directly to that point, but we can create a tiny triangle, not triangle, but a tiny piece of polygon here, edge. So that could be a small polygon, and this edge should be welded there. This point could be moved closer. So this edge, Alt X, could be welded to that first segment, you can see. So now we have this kind of inset, and we can clean this up by selecting this point and moving in and moving in. Okay, that's how it goes, and probably leave some room to have that stretch, and then we can go and fill this. Push a little bit in. This one should be a little bit inside. Okay. there it is. There it is. Nice piece. Shift and drag and target weld the edge. So sometimes it can't recognize where. Okay. Make it see it from there, and then the next part will be and should be a separated piece. So that will be a different one. Okay, and about the eyes. So once we have that, go to border mode, select the borders, switch to scale R, scale it down. Now this creates a kind of an inset around the eye, and that's important to have it relatively tiny because it will adjust sharpness. And the other thing, if you want to have that edge looking around, that wrinkle that goes around the eye, you can also select the edges and use Alt R or ring and right click and go to connect with the settings, because the default connect will land the connect right in the center of these edges, but we can actually use and slide them outwards or inside, and now we want to make it outwards. The more it becomes an outer edge, the sharper the overall will be. So this is how it looks. Now it's fairly sharp. Okay, you don't have to be that accurate with that. If you're creating sharp edges all around, it looks odd. So to release that sharpness, we can actually pull this in, which one is not bad, by the way, because usually we have this center of the eye, this corner of the eye. Also here, usually we have that, so we can pull that in, and to release and reduce that sharpness, we can make adjustments. Now, if you want to make it a little bit easier, we have geometry constraints, and so if it's tiresome to recognize all the axes, which one is the axis you want, in this case you can use edge, and that way when you pull, it will automatically slide on the edge. Okay, so that's the benefit of using this. So it slides on the edge. You don't have to look at that much. But sometimes you have to be careful. But in general, it's relatively easy to use. But don't forget, turn it all back to none once you're done with the setting. Okay, so that's good for me. Yeah, we can still go and look for references, but before we are going in details, we definitely need to have an eye. There's some weird thing going on here. It's because this is not as rounded as it should be. That's good. Okay, now where's the eyeball? Here's the eyeball, a sphere. Start the sphere, and this is about the radius. This is here. So the eyeball is usually about 23, 26, 7 millimeters in diameter, about 7 centimeters. So this was a really big eyeball. It's really not working that way, so we need to reduce it. But that was what's the letter dictated, so it is a radius value. It definitely should be lower. 1.5. Yeah, that's 1.5. Okay. Now pulling this out, and this can help a lot. So once you have this eyeball, it should be. Yeah, you can tailor down the geometry to the eyeball. Okay, so go back in and select, and usually it's the best if you are using soft selection, and the other thing is soft selection is actually measured from the center, and it has a radius. And because it has a radius, it will grab the bottom parts of the eyes, which one is avoidable. If you turn on edge distance and adjust the edge distance, actually, in general, you just have to have edge distance on, and this value should be a little bit higher. So then you don't have to go and check all things all the time. Now push this in and wrap it around the eye. Okay, so that's the goal. Wrap it around the eyeball. Trace the eyeball a little bit better. And that way it will be much more rounder. And it doesn't matter, at this moment I'm not really worried about the photo references. So I want to see a clear, good match that still good with the reference images, but it's not just about fitting it to the reference image. Alright, so that's the eyeball. And see what we have. Okay, which one's is relatively good. Okay, here we have some negative areas, so maybe I need to pull these out. It's just a bump in, so I was not aware of it. So let me pull this back, and the shine shows it many times. Here we still have something going on. Function key 4. It's a little bit negative, still a little bit negative. This point as well. Going further, this point is still in. So moving around and see what's happening over there. Okay. It's practically that is it. If you want to close the mouth a little bit more, you just have to overlap it. That actually the soft selection is working, but here it's a little bit tricky because you have the fall off. And so I will turn this off for now and pull it in and see it for myself, that what's going on. This one's also, so we can pull this area if we want to protrude it more. That's what we can do. Here, lift this up a bit, and the center as well. We can do that. And there's a kind of a indent here, so I will just make it flat a bit more. Like, you can see this back bump. This one is not ideal at all. So that's where we are going. And in left viewport, Alt X, it's not. So even if I pull it out, the problem here is these are too high up. So if we lower it, it will be a little bit better. But in that case, we have to measure. Take tests with that. Alright, Alt X, function key 4. So now it's a little bit better of a mouse shape. So you can fine tune things. The polygon count is really minimalistic. It's not a full head, but it's relatively a good resolution head. What's happening here is this nose. Yeah, that was pulled. So we have now dial this down. Let's pull this out a bit to create this little puck shape there. This one should be also pulled out. Right, so the default, so if I don't have turbo smooth on, it has a fairly low amount. It includes even the reference planes, and it's a relatively low poly count, which you can deal with. And finally, just let me add the smoothing groups, or Control A, smoothing groups, and this is practically a face done with very basic 3D modeling tools. without even any texture. If you want, you can project the texture onto the model. That is helping sometimes. And of course, if you're sculpting it in a different 3D application and starting over and creating the retopology, that could be much closer to a production model. But for practicing building a character head in 3D, this could be a way if you did in 3dsMax. Alright, thank you very much and have fun. Goodbye.